After the age of 50, something begins to change inside the body, quietly, slowly, and almost invisibly. Most people don't feel it at first. They continue eating the same foods they've eaten for decades. They go about their routines. They stay busy. They take care of family. They go to work. They try to stay active. But then one morning, something is different. Their knees feel stiff. Their hands feel tighter than usual. Their back aches when they stand from bed. They notice swelling in their fingers, heaviness in their legs, or a strange pressure around their joints. The energy they woke up with in their 30s and 40s is now replaced by a dull, dragging fatigue that seems to grow a little stronger each year. Most people shrug it off. They think it's just age, or I slept wrong, or I need to stretch more. But the truth is far more powerful and far more dangerous than anybody ever tells you. Because what feels like aging, what feels like stiffness, what feels like tired joints and sore muscles, is often something deeper, something that grows inside the body silently. Inflammation. Inflammation is not just swelling or redness. It's not just joint pain. It is a biological fire slowly burning through the tissues of the body. And after 50, that fire becomes easier to ignite and harder to control. It attacks your joints, your heart, your liver, your gut, your nerves, even your brain. It disrupts sleep, slows metabolism, increases belly fat, raises blood pressure, damages blood vessels, and accelerates the very aging process itself. Here's the part nobody tells you. Inflammation doesn't start with pain. It starts with food. For millions of people over 50, the very foods they eat every single day are triggering inflammation spikes so strong that their body never truly heals. These foods look harmless. Many of them are marketed as healthy. Some are considered comfort foods. Others are eaten simply out of habit. But inside the body, they create a cascade of inflammatory chemicals that stiffen arteries, irritate joints, weaken muscles, cloud the brain, and make you feel older than you truly are. And here is the shocking truth. You can exercise daily. You can take your vitamins. You can eat well in general. But if you keep eating these 5 inflammation-boosting foods, the body will continue to fight a losing battle every single day. The reason is simple. After 50, the immune system becomes more reactive. The gut lining becomes thinner. The joints lose lubrication. The liver becomes slower. The blood vessels become more sensitive, which means foods that your body tolerated at 30 suddenly become devastating at 55 or 60. This is why some people wake up one day and say, I don't understand, I didn't injure myself. Why does everything hurt? Or, I eat healthy, why am I still bloated and tired? Or, I'm gaining weight even though I'm eating less. It's not your fault. It's not a lack of discipline. It's not bad luck. It's inflammation and the foods fueling it. To show you how serious this is, let me tell you about Diane, a 62-year-old school administrator from Ohio. She had always been active, rarely missed her evening walks, and considered herself health conscious. But at 59, her body began changing. Her fingers felt swollen in the morning. Her knees ached when climbing stairs. She felt a strange stiffness in her back after sitting at her desk too long. She tried stretching. She tried heat pads. She tried supplements. Nothing worked. Finally, a nutrition-focused physician reviewed her diet and pointed to just 3 foods she was eating daily that were inflaming her joints. Within 3 weeks of removing them, her morning stiffness improved by 50%. By 6 weeks, she felt lighter, younger, and more energetic than she had in years. She told her doctor, I didn't know food could do this much damage. Then there's Martin, a 70-year-old retired engineer from the UK. His issue wasn't joint pain, it was chronic fatigue. He couldn't understand why he needed afternoon naps just to get through the day. He ate healthy, avoided fast food, and cooked most meals at home. But his energy was collapsing. A specialist helped him identify 2 specific inflammation-triggering foods he had eaten for decades. Removing them changed everything. Within a month, he said his brain fog disappeared. His energy returned. His legs felt stronger. And for the first time in years, he woke up without feeling drained. The point is simple. Inflammation is not random. It is triggered, and the trigger is often your plate. That's why this video is so important, because the foods you'll learn about today are not rare. They're not exotic. They're not junk food in the traditional sense. They are everyday foods that millions of people eat without ever realizing the damage happening inside their cells. In this series, we are going to uncover the 5 worst inflammation-spiking foods for adults over 50. These foods disrupt hormones, raise blood sugar, damage the gut lining, overactivate the immune system, trigger the release of cytokines, inflammation chemicals, speed up joint degeneration, block weight loss, and accelerate aging in every organ. And here's the surprising part. Many of these foods are commonly recommended in modern diets. But the science is clear. Once you pass 50, your body cannot process them the same way it used to. By the end of this video, you will understand why inflammation increases after 50, the everyday foods keeping your body inflamed, the hidden way these foods trigger pain, swelling, fatigue, and weight gain, how eliminating just 1 or 2 of them can transform your energy, mobility, and long-term health, and most importantly, you will know exactly what to stop eating if you want to feel younger, lighter, stronger, and less inflamed. Because the truth is this: your body is not aging as fast as you think. Your inflammation is aging you. And once you remove the foods causing that inflammation, your body can finally begin repairing itself again. When you're ready, we'll dive deeper into the first food on the list, a food almost every household in America eats weekly, and one of the strongest hidden inflammation triggers for adults over 50. The first food on this inflammation list is so common, so widely accepted, and so deeply woven into the modern diet that most people never question it. It appears in kitchens across the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and nearly every part of Europe. It's served at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's used in frying, baking, sautéing, and packaged foods. It hides inside salad dressings, crackers, bread, sauces, chips, and almost every restaurant meal. And for adults over 50, it is one of the most destructive inflammation triggers ever studied. That food is refined vegetable oil, especially soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, and cottonseed oil. Now, here's the shocking part. These oils were originally marketed as heart-healthy miracle oils because they lower cholesterol. But what nobody told you is that lowering cholesterol does not mean reducing inflammation. In fact, refined vegetable oils raise inflammation dramatically, especially after age 50, when the body becomes more sensitive to oxidative stress. The reason lies in their structure. These oils contain high levels of omega-6 fatty acids, which trigger the production of inflammatory molecules called prostaglandins and cytokines. In younger adults, the body can buffer some of this inflammation. But after 50, the immune system becomes more reactive, the joints lose lubrication, the arteries stiffen, and the liver becomes slower at detoxifying inflammatory byproducts. This means that what was once tolerated at age 30 becomes harmful at age 55, 60, or 70. Let's break it down in simple terms. When you eat refined vegetable oil, your body lights a biological match. And if you eat it daily, which most people unknowingly do, that match never goes out. This is why so many people over 50 feel chronic stiffness, unexplained soreness, sluggish energy, slow digestion, brain fog, swollen fingers, puffy faces, and afternoon fatigue, even though their blood tests look normal. Their body is drowning in inflammation caused by the very oils they've been told are healthy. Let me tell you about Susan, a 58-year-old nurse from North Carolina. She ate what she considered a balanced diet: grilled chicken, salads, vegetables, soups, and the occasional treat. Yet she woke up every morning with aching wrists, tight knees, and swelling in her hands. She blamed it on her job, on years of lifting patients, on long shifts. But when she retired, the pain didn't go away. In fact, it got worse because she was cooking more meals at home with vegetable oil. A nutrition specialist reviewed her meals and immediately pointed to the bottles of canola and soybean oil sitting on her counter. He explained that every time she heated these oils, they released oxidized fats, which are toxic to the body. These fats enter the bloodstream, irritate blood vessels, damage cell membranes, and activate the immune system. That immune response is inflammation. For 2 weeks, Susan switched to olive oil and avocado oil. Nothing else changed. She ate the same foods, slept the same hours, and followed the same routine. But by day 10, she woke up and realized something felt different. Her fingers weren't stiff. Her knees didn't ache when she stood up. She told her husband, "It feels like someone removed sandbags from my joints." That's how powerful eliminating vegetable oils can be. Then there's Peter, a 66-year-old grandfather from Ireland who loved baking. He used vegetable oil in muffins, pancakes, breads, frying, everything. He thought he was choosing a neutral, heart-healthy option. But at 66, he developed severe inflammation in his shoulders and elbows. His doctor suggested anti-inflammatory medication, but Peter wanted to fix the root cause. When a dietitian removed vegetable oils from his diet for 30 days, his pain decreased by nearly 50%. By 60 days, he was back to gardening, something he had avoided for an entire year due to pain. These stories are not rare. They are extremely common. The biggest challenge is that vegetable oils are everywhere, even in foods that appear healthy. Look at the ingredients on any packaged product. Crackers, hummus, granola bars, pita chips, canned soups, store-bought rotisserie chicken, and even many healthy salad dressings. You will almost always see soybean oil, canola oil, or sunflower oil listed as one of the first ingredients. For adults over 50, these oils set off a chain reaction inside the body. One, they inflame joints. The immune system reacts to oxidized fats by releasing inflammatory chemicals, which gather in the joints, knees, hands, elbows, hips, causing pain, stiffness, and swelling. 2. They inflame the gut. Vegetable oils damage the gut lining, making it more permeable. This leads to bloating, gas, indigestion, and immune activation. 3. They inflame the liver. Since vegetable oils are often genetically modified and processed with harsh chemicals, they burden the liver, increasing fat storage and impairing detoxification. 4. They inflame the brain. Excess omega-6 fats impair communication between neurons, leading to brain fog, memory lapses, anxiety, and reduced focus. 5. They inflame blood vessels. When arteries become inflamed, blood pressure rises, circulation declines, and the risk of heart disease increases. In short, vegetable oils age the body from the inside out. And here's the part most people never consider. Even if you never cook with vegetable oil, you are still consuming it, because restaurants use it in everything. Fast food, diners, steakhouses, salad bars, bakeries, all use massive amounts of vegetable oils because they're cheap, neutral tasting, and last a long time. That means even health-conscious seniors unknowingly consume inflammatory oils multiple times per week. To show how destructive this is, let's look at what scientists have discovered. Research from the National Institutes of Health shows that omega-6 fatty acids from vegetable oils increase the production of inflammatory cytokines, including IL-6 and TNF-alpha. Two chemicals strongly linked to chronic pain, arthritis, autoimmune flare-ups, cardiovascular disease, and accelerated aging. Another study published in Nutrients found that adults over 50 are significantly more sensitive to omega-6 inflammation than adults under 40. In other words, the older you are, the more damage these oils cause. And yet, millions of seniors are unknowingly consuming them daily. So why does eliminating vegetable oils produce such dramatic results? Because it gives the body something it desperately needs: relief from constant immune activation. Imagine your immune system is a firefighter. Every time you eat vegetable oils, it's like throwing gasoline onto a fire. The firefighter races to put it out, but if you keep adding fuel, the immune system never rests. Over months and years, this leads to exhaustion, chronic inflammation, autoimmune issues, and accelerated aging. But when you remove the oils, it's like turning off the gas line. The fire finally begins to die. The immune system quiets, inflammation drops, joints move more freely, energy rises, sleep improves, brain fog fades, belly fat becomes easier to lose. That's why so many seniors experience life-changing improvements within 2 to 4 weeks of eliminating these oils. Their body is no longer fighting an invisible war. Now here is the good news. Replacing vegetable oils is simple. Extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, and butter from grass-fed cows do not trigger the same inflammatory cascade. They contain stable fats that resist oxidation, support joint health, improve brain function, and protect the heart. When seniors switch from vegetable oils to these healthier alternatives, their inflammation doesn't just decrease, their entire biology shifts. They feel lighter, clearer, more energetic, and more mobile in some cases, for the first time in years. Before we move on, I want to share one last story, one that shows how deeply vegetable oils affect the body. Lena, a 71-year-old retired librarian from Germany, had lived with hand arthritis for nearly a decade. She assumed it was permanent. Her doctor told her it was genetic. Her rheumatologist said it was age-related. But when a young nutrition researcher visited her senior center and explained vegetable oil inflammation, she decided she had nothing to lose. She removed all vegetable oils from her diet for 6 weeks. At week 4, she realized she could twist jar lids again. At week 5, she could garden for an hour without pain. At week 6, she told her family, "I feel like someone gave me my hands back." This is the power of removing inflammatory foods, and vegetable oil is one of the worst offenders. In next part, we will move to the second inflammatory food, one that raises blood sugar, damages gut bacteria, and accelerates joint inflammation faster than almost any other food people over 50 consume daily. If vegetable oils are the gasoline poured onto the fire of inflammation, then the second food on this list is the oxygen feeding that fire every single day. Refined sugar. Not just the obvious desserts or candies, but the hidden sugars buried inside everyday foods people over 50 eat, without realizing the damage happening quietly inside their cells. When most people hear the word sugar, they picture chocolate bars, cakes, sodas, or cookies. They imagine treats or snacks, things they can avoid if they choose. But what they don't realize is that refined sugar has disguised itself so cleverly inside modern foods that even people who eat healthy end up consuming large amounts every day. And for adults over 50, refined sugar is one of the most powerful inflammation triggers ever discovered. The science is overwhelming. As soon as sugar enters the bloodstream, it attaches to proteins and forms something called AGEs, advanced glycation end products. These molecules damage tissues, stiffen blood vessels, irritate joints, weaken muscles, speed up aging, and trigger massive inflammatory responses. Think of AGEs as microscopic rust forming inside your body. The more sugar you consume, the faster the rust spreads. Here is the real danger. People over 50 metabolize sugar much more slowly than younger adults. The pancreas is less responsive, insulin is less efficient, the liver becomes overloaded faster, and blood sugar spikes last longer. This means that even a normal amount of sugar can provoke inflammation that lingers for hours, sometimes days. Let me tell you about Harold, a 68-year-old retired police officer from Texas. He prided himself on being strong, disciplined, and health-conscious. He avoided desserts, he didn't drink soda, and he cooked most meals at home. But he had severe knee pain, constant swelling in his hands, and a burning sensation in his feet every night. His doctor suggested arthritis medication, but Harold wasn't convinced. One day, a nutritionist asked him a simple question. "What do you eat for breakfast?" Harold answered, "Oatmeal with raisins and low-fat yogurt." The nutritionist smiled gently and said, You're starting your day with nearly 40 grams of sugar. Harold was stunned. He switched to eggs, vegetables, and black coffee. 2 weeks later, his knee swelling reduced. For weeks later, he told his wife, "I feel like someone oiled my joints." Sugar was the hidden culprit the whole time, but Harold is not alone. Millions of people over 50 consume sugar they don't even know exists. It hides in flavored yogurts, cereals, granola bars, coffee creamers, fruit juices, sauces, breads, soups, dressings, healthy snacks, crackers, canned foods, and because these foods don't taste sweet, people don't suspect anything. This creates a daily cycle of inflammation that never stops. To understand why sugar is so destructive, you must understand what happens inside the blood vessels when blood sugar rises. When sugar spikes, the arteries become inflamed, stiff, and swollen. Blood pressure rises. Circulation slows. The immune system releases cytokines to fight the damage, which then attack the joints, nerves, and gut lining. For a young person, the body repairs this quickly. But after 50, the repair process is slower, weaker, and less coordinated. The inflammation lingers. This is why seniors often say, "My knees hurt more after eating pasta. My hands swell after dessert. I feel tired after bread or cereal. My joints ache the morning after a high-carb dinner." These aren't coincidences. They are biochemical responses. Let me share another story. Angela, a 71-year-old from Bristol, England. She didn't have a sweet tooth. She hardly ate desserts, but she suffered with painful swelling in her fingers every single morning. She assumed it was arthritis. Her doctor said it was age-related, but when her granddaughter challenged her to do a 14-day no-sugar test, she hesitated but agreed. She removed cereal, white bread, fruit juice, and light yogurt foods she thought were harmless. On day 6, she woke up and flexed her fingers and realized they weren't stiff. On day 10, she cooked breakfast without pain. On day 14, she said the words so many seniors say once inflammation begins to drop: "I forgot what normal felt like." The truth is simple but powerful. Refined sugar inflames every part of the body. Here's how. 1. Sugar inflames joints. Ages accumulate in cartilage, making joints stiff, painful, and swollen. 2. Sugar inflames the liver. Excess sugar, especially fructose, gets stored in the liver as fat, leading to fatty liver disease and increased inflammation. 3. Sugar inflames the gut. It damages the gut lining and increases permeability, allowing inflammatory molecules into the bloodstream. 4. Sugar inflames the brain. It causes insulin resistance in neurons, which is linked to brain fog, memory problems, and cognitive decline. 5. Sugar inflames blood vessels. It stiffens arteries and creates microscopic cracks the immune system rushes to repair, causing chronic inflammation. 6. Sugar inflames fat cells. Enlarged fat cells release inflammatory chemicals that burden the entire immune system. This is why weight loss becomes increasingly difficult after 50. The inflammation created by sugar blocks the hormones responsible for fat burning. Many seniors think they're gaining weight because they're aging. In reality, they're inflamed, and sugar is feeding the fire. Now, let's talk about the emotional side. Many seniors rely on sweet flavors for comfort. They associate it with childhood, holidays, or moments of relief after a long day. And there's nothing wrong with wanting comfort. But when that comfort turns into daily inflammation, your body pays the price. One of the most striking transformations came from Ellen, a 63-year-old from Chicago who loved her nightly, healthy dessert, low-fat vanilla yogurt with strawberries. She believed it was good for her heart. But her morning stiffness, fatigue, and mental fog kept getting worse. When she learned that her yogurt had 29 grams of sugar per serving, she was shocked. She switched to plain Greek yogurt and added cinnamon and nuts. Within 3 weeks, her energy returned. Her belly bloating decreased. Her afternoon crashes disappeared. Her sleep improved. She said, "I didn't change my diet. I changed one ingredient, sugar, and my body woke up." This is the pattern we see over and over again. When people over 50 remove hidden sugars, inflammation drops fast. This brings us to the deeper scientific truth. As we age, the body becomes more sensitive to insulin. When insulin is high, inflammation increases. When inflammation increases, aging accelerates. It's a vicious cycle that can only be broken by reducing refined sugar. But here's the hopeful part. The body responds quickly when sugar intake decreases. Very quickly. Studies show that within 7 days of lowering sugar, inflammatory markers begin to drop. Within 14 days, joint stiffness decreases. Within 3 weeks, blood sugar stabilizes. Within 4 to 6 weeks, energy skyrockets. It is never too late to remove sugar. The body is always ready to heal. Before we move to the next part, I want to highlight the most dangerous type of sugar for seniors. Liquid sugar, fruit juices, sweetened coffee, sweetened tea, flavored water, sports drinks, and sodas. Liquid sugar hits the bloodstream instantly, overwhelming the pancreas, inflaming the liver, and creating massive blood sugar spikes. Seniors who eliminate sugary drinks often experience the fastest reduction in inflammation. Think of inflammation like smoke rising from a fire. Sugar is not just a log or a twig. It's lighter fluid. And if you've been struggling with stiffness, swelling, brain fog, poor sleep, low energy, or belly fat, removing hidden sugar may be the most powerful step you ever take. In Part 4, we will uncover the third food, a food so normalized in modern culture that almost every household consumes it weekly. Yet it is one of the strongest inflammation triggers in adults over 50. If the first inflammation trigger, vegetable oils, acts like gasoline on a fire, and the second trigger, refined sugar, acts like oxygen that helps that fire burn hotter, then the third food on this list acts like a constant supply of dry wood thrown onto the flames day after day, year after year. This is the food almost every person over 50 eats without thinking twice. It's inexpensive, comforting, convenient, and deeply emotional for many people. Yet it silently inflames joints, raises blood sugar, damages the gut, and accelerates aging faster than nearly any other food in the modern diet. That food is refined flour, found in white bread, pasta, crackers, cookies, pastries, pancakes, muffins, white rice, tortillas, noodles, and almost every processed carbohydrate on supermarket shelves. Most people don't consider refined flour to be harmful. Bread is seen as a staple, pasta is comfort food, sandwiches are lunch, toast is breakfast, cereal is normal. And because these foods don't taste sweet, people don't realize that their bodies treat them exactly like sugar, sometimes even worse. Here's what refined flour does inside the body of someone over 50. The moment it enters the digestive system, it breaks down rapidly into glucose. This glucose floods the bloodstream, causing a sharp rise in blood sugar and a surge of insulin, the fat-storing, inflammation-triggering hormone. The body is suddenly challenged with a task it becomes less efficient at managing after the age of 50, clearing excess sugar quickly. When it fails, sugar lingers in the bloodstream, binding to proteins, forming those same dangerous ages, advanced glycation end products, that cause tissue damage, stiff arteries, and chronic inflammation. But it doesn't stop there. Refined flour also destroys gut health. In your youth, your gut lining is thick and resilient, but after 50, it becomes thinner, more sensitive, and more easily irritated. Refined flour feeds harmful gut bacteria, causes bloating, increases gas, and contributes to leaky gut, a condition where toxins escape into the bloodstream, heightening inflammation throughout the body. Let me tell you about Margaret, a 70-year-old grandmother from Minnesota. She had lived with chronic lower back pain for almost 15 years. Her hands were swollen every morning, and her knees ached when she climbed the stairs. Her doctor blamed arthritis. Her specialist blamed aging. But Margaret's granddaughter, a nutrition science major, asked her to try something different, remove flour for 4 weeks. Margaret laughed at the idea. "I don't eat sugar," she said. But the truth was, flour was everywhere in her diet. Toast at breakfast, crackers at lunch, pasta at dinner. She agreed reluctantly, and in week 3, something extraordinary happened. She woke up and realized her hands didn't feel stiff. She stood up from bed without grabbing the nightstand. She walked to the kitchen and felt something she hadn't felt in years: lightness. She called her granddaughter, shocked. "Is this what normal people feel like?" she asked. Old inflammation was finally dissolving. Margaret is not alone. Many seniors experience dramatic improvement once they reduce or eliminate refined flour. The reason is simple. The body cannot manage large amounts of glucose and insulin spikes as efficiently after 50. These spikes lead to increased joint inflammation, higher belly fat storage, fatigue and energy crashes, headaches, brain fog, swollen ankles or fingers, digestive problems, poor sleep quality, higher blood pressure. Let's talk about David, a 65-year-old construction foreman from Canada. He was strong, active, and had always prided himself on being physically tough. But in his 60s, he began feeling constant shoulder and neck stiffness. He assumed it was from years of physical labor. But after his doctor recommended anti-inflammatory foods, David realized that his biggest daily carbohydrate was a massive white flour sandwich for lunch. He decided to experiment, replacing his white bread with a grain-free alternative and reducing pasta during the week. Within 10 days, his shoulder stiffness decreased. By week 4, he could lift his arms overhead without pain for the first time in years. His body wasn't failing him, his food was. The deeper truth is that refined flour triggers inflammation on multiple levels. One, it elevates blood sugar quickly. Rapid blood sugar spikes cause rapid insulin spikes. Insulin is a growth hormone, and when it's constantly elevated, it fuels inflammation, weight gain, and fat storage. 2, it increases visceral fat. Visceral fat, the dangerous fat around your organs, releases inflammatory chemicals that worsen arthritis, heart disease, and cognitive decline. 3, it destroys gut bacteria. Refined flour feeds harmful bacteria that raise inflammation throughout the body. Seniors often experience bloating, constipation, gas, and discomfort after eating flour-heavy meals. 4, it creates inflammatory byproducts when flour is baked or fried at high temperatures. Ages multiply, causing a surge in inflammation that lasts hours. 5, it raises C-reactive protein, CRP. CRP is the most common blood marker for inflammation. People who consume flour regularly have significantly higher levels, especially after 50. 6, it tightens blood vessels. High glucose meals cause the endothelium, the inner lining of your arteries, to stiffen, reducing blood flow, raising blood pressure, and increasing heart strain. Many seniors mistake these signs for aging because they develop gradually. One day you wake up with stiff fingers. A month later your knees hurt going downstairs. A year later your walking speed slows. It feels like aging, but it's inflammation fueled by the foods you eat every single day. Let me share one more story. Helen, a 63-year-old French woman who lived her whole life believing that bread was harmless. Bread was part of her culture, her comfort, her childhood memories. But in her 60s, she developed severe swelling around her ankles and constant fatigue. Her doctor suspected vascular issues. But when Helen visited a nutritionist, he explained that bread, even high-quality bread, can still spike inflammation. She removed refined flour for 30 days, switching to vegetables, proteins, and whole foods. Her swelling decreased by nearly 60% in 1 month. Her afternoon fatigue vanished, and she called her nutritionist and said, "I feel younger. My face even looks less puffy." That's the power of reducing inflammatory foods. Now, here's something important to understand. You don't necessarily need to eliminate flour forever, but reducing it, especially the refined, processed versions, can dramatically improve inflammation levels. Seniors often notice lighter joints, reduced swelling, improved mobility, clearer thinking, less morning stiffness, better digestion, more stable energy, reduced belly fat, better sleep, and these improvements happen fast, often within 2 to 4 weeks. This is why doctors and nutritionists agree that refined flour is one of the most damaging foods for adults over 50, because the body simply cannot handle the inflammatory burden anymore. But flour is not the only problem. In next part, we will reveal the fourth inflammatory food, one that disrupts hormones, increases joint pain, and accelerates aging. Yet millions of people consume it daily without suspecting a thing. This food affects the thyroid, the gut, the immune system, and even the brain. And avoiding it can dramatically change how you feel. The fourth hidden inflammation trigger after 50 is one of the most common foods in the modern diet, one that millions of seniors eat every single day without thinking twice. It appears at breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even snacks. It is inexpensive, flavorful, comforting, and deeply nostalgic. But inside the body of someone over 50, it becomes one of the most powerful inflammation accelerators ever discovered. This food is processed meat, bacon, sausage, deli slices, hot dogs, ham, pepperoni, salami, corned beef, cured meats, and all the highly preserved, chemically enhanced meats that fill supermarket shelves. For decades, people have assumed these foods are harmless or even protein-rich options. But once you look inside the body, once you see the biochemical response happening inside aging joints, arteries, gut tissue, and immune pathways, you realize processed meats are far more dangerous than they appear. Processed meats contain a cocktail of preservatives, nitrates, nitrites, chemicals, stabilizers, dyes, curing agents, and additives designed to enhance flavor and shelf life. But when these substances enter the bloodstream, they transform into compounds called nitrosamines, highly reactive molecules that irritate tissues, inflame blood vessels, damage cells, and trigger immune overreaction. For seniors whose antioxidant defenses naturally decline with age, nitrosamines create a level of oxidative stress the body simply cannot manage efficiently. What results is swelling, stiffness, joint pain, digestive irritation, vascular inflammation, sluggish energy, and a cascade of immune responses that make the entire body feel older, heavier, and more inflamed. The fats in processed meats worsen the problem. Unlike the natural fats found in whole foods, the fats in processed meats are often oxidized through smoking, curing, high-heat cooking, or long storage. These oxidized fats behave like toxins inside the body, increasing inflammatory markers, irritating the gut lining, stiffening arteries, and contributing to weight gain around the belly. Seniors often describe symptoms such as aching wrists, tight shoulders, knee stiffness, swelling in the fingers, burning sensations in the feet, and general heaviness or discomfort after meals, symptoms that doctors often blame on age or arthritis, but which are frequently triggered by the inflammatory compounds in processed meats. And the cooking methods make everything worse. Most processed meats are fried, grilled, seared, or cooked at extremely high temperatures that create another inflammatory compound called AGEs, advanced glycation end products. These AGEs damage collagen, accelerate joint degeneration, weaken the skin, stiffen arteries, and increase systemic inflammation. For a young person with strong cellular repair, AGEs are manageable. For someone over 50, they accumulate and overwhelm the body. This is why many seniors feel noticeably worse after a breakfast of bacon and sausage than after a meal of fresh whole foods. Their body is not failing. Their nutrition is. Let me tell you about Carlos, a 63-year-old from Miami who believed bacon gave him energy every morning. He fried it daily, convinced it was a protein powerhouse. But as he entered his 60s, he developed constant lower back pain, knee stiffness, and fatigue that hit before noon. He thought it was aging or decades of physical labor. But when his doctor encouraged him to eliminate bacon and sausage for 4 weeks, something remarkable happened. By day 10, his knees hurt less. By day 20, he could bend and twist more easily. By day 28, he said, I feel like someone removed a weight that I didn't know I was carrying. His issue wasn't age. It was chronic inflammation fueled by his breakfast. Or consider Eva, a 70-year-old from Denmark whose fingers swelled every morning. She struggled to open jars, hold knitting needles, or grasp a mug. She believed she had arthritis. But when her granddaughter analyzed her meals, the problem was unmistakable. Eva ate ham sandwiches every afternoon. She removed ham for 3 weeks and replaced it with fresh chicken and tuna. Within 14 days, the swelling had reduced dramatically. By week 3, she could knit again for the first time in almost a year. Once again, the body wasn't failing. It was reacting to a food it could no longer tolerate. Processed meats do not harm one part of the body. They harm many. In the joints, nitrosamines and oxidized fats irritate cartilage and synovial fluid, causing stiffness and pain. In the gut, preservatives disrupt beneficial bacteria, contributing to bloating, gas, poor digestion, and immune activation. In the blood vessels, inflammatory compounds stiffen artery walls, raise blood pressure, and reduce circulation to the legs and feet. In the muscles, these foods interfere with amino acid absorption, making muscle repair slower and contributing to weakness. In the brain, inflammatory compounds reduce cognitive clarity and increase brain fog. In the fat cells, especially around the belly, processed meats worsen insulin resistance, making fat storage faster and fat burning slower. All of this creates a picture many seniors recognize. Stiff hands in the morning, swollen joints after meals, digestive discomfort, afternoon fatigue, reduced mobility, slow recovery after activity, and unpredictable levels of inflammation throughout the body. These symptoms are so common that people assume they are just part of aging. But as thousands of seniors discover when they remove processed meats, these symptoms are not inevitable. They are reversible. One of the biggest reasons processed meat is more harmful after 50 is that the aging body is less resilient. The liver processes chemicals more slowly. The gut barrier becomes thinner and more permeable. Joint cartilage contains fewer anti-inflammatory compounds. The immune system becomes more reactive. The body's antioxidant systems weaken. Collagen production declines. The digestive enzymes needed to break down proteins become less abundant. All these changes mean that the same foods tolerated at 30 become inflammatory landmines at 60. When processed meats hit this more fragile internal environment, inflammation skyrockets. There is also an emotional element that makes processed meats difficult to reduce. These foods are tied to childhood memories, weekend breakfasts, family gatherings, barbecues, and comforting rituals. Bacon sizzling in a pan, the smell of sausage, a warm deli sandwich. These foods feel familiar and safe. But familiar does not mean harmless, and removing them does not mean giving up joy. Seniors who replace processed meats with fresh proteins like chicken, turkey, fish, eggs, or even high-quality fresh beef often report something surprising. Cravings disappear, energy rises, digestion improves, mood stabilizes, pain decreases. The most hopeful part of all this is how quickly the body responds. When seniors remove processed meats, many feel noticeable improvements in less than 10 days. Swelling decreases, morning stiffness lightens, digestion becomes smoother, sleep improves, brain fog lifts, mobility increases. And deep down, most describe a sense of, I didn't realize how inflamed I was until the inflammation went away. This awakening is powerful. It shows the body has not given up. It was simply overwhelmed. Now that you've learned about processed meats and how they fuel inflammation after 50, you can begin to see the pattern that connects all 5 inflammatory foods. They irritate the gut. They spike blood sugar. They stiffen arteries. They activate the immune system. They accelerate aging. But the good news is simple. Remove them, even partially, and the body begins repairing itself immediately. Many seniors describe feeling lighter, younger, and more mobile within weeks. Their symptoms don't just improve, they transform. This brings you to the final food on the inflammation list, one that almost nobody suspects because it's marketed as healthy. It's found in breakfast bowls, lunch snacks, afternoon teas, and dinner routines. It's the food seniors trust the most, yet it is the one that quietly creates some of the strongest inflammation markers in older adults. And eliminating it brings relief faster than almost any other food on the list. The fifth and final inflammation trigger after 50 is the most surprising of all, because it's the one millions of seniors believe is healthy. It is the food doctors promoted for decades, the food diet companies pushed as the lighter choice, and the food countless men and women over 50 have relied on for weight loss, bone health, and heart protection. Yet inside the body, especially the aging body, it behaves very differently. This food is low-fat dairy, skim milk, low-fat yogurt, low-fat cheese, light dairy snacks, and everything created during the era when fat was blamed for all health problems. Seniors trusted the labels. They trusted the commercials. They trusted the promises. But what they didn't know is that low-fat dairy creates one of the most intense inflammatory responses in the body, especially after the age of 50. The reason low-fat dairy becomes so harmful is simple. When fat is removed from dairy, the entire food structure changes. The fat is what carries vitamins. The fat slows digestion. The fat stabilizes blood sugar. The fat helps the body absorb nutrients. Without fat, you are left with a concentrated mixture of fast-absorbing sugars, high-heat damaged proteins, and biologically altered milk molecules that behave nothing like natural food. Seniors who drink or eat low-fat dairy often don't realize that this so-called healthy choice spikes blood sugar almost as quickly as sugary snacks. And because adults over 50 already have declining insulin sensitivity, these spikes hit harder and last longer, triggering waves of inflammation throughout the body. Another problem is lactose, the natural sugar in milk. In youth, the body produces enzymes to digest lactose easily, but after 50, those enzymes decline dramatically. The result is undigested sugar fermenting inside the gut, creating gas, bloating, discomfort, inflammation, and immune reactions that spill into the bloodstream. Many seniors experience morning stiffness, swollen fingers, digestive issues, fatigue after meals, headaches, or sinus congestion without ever suspecting low-fat dairy. They assume these symptoms mean they are aging. In reality, their body is reacting to a food it can no longer process. And then there is the protein problem. When dairy is stripped of its fat, the remaining proteins are heated, pressurized, and altered during processing. These denatured proteins can irritate the immune system, especially in seniors whose digestive systems weaken with age. What follows is a chain reaction: joint inflammation, sinus inflammation, skin flare-ups, swelling, brain fog, and unpredictable energy crashes. Many seniors describe it as feeling inflamed for no reason. Yet the reason is sitting quietly in their refrigerator in the form of low-fat yogurt or skim milk. Hormones play another major role. Low-fat dairy spikes insulin sharply because lactose absorbs so rapidly. For postmenopausal women, this insulin spike is particularly damaging because estrogen levels drop with age, and estrogen normally helps regulate inflammation and blood sugar. When estrogen is low, insulin becomes more aggressive, storing more belly fat and increasing inflammatory markers. This is why so many women over 50 struggle with stubborn abdominal fat, even though they eat healthy, low-fat foods. They are not failing, the food is. Let me share a true story that represents countless seniors. Linda, a 68-year-old retired schoolteacher, struggled with wrist swelling, knee stiffness, and unpredictable digestion. She was proud of her diet: skim milk at breakfast, low-fat yogurt at lunch, cottage cheese at dinner. She truly believed she was eating clean, but nothing relieved her inflammation. Her doctor suspected arthritis. Her physical therapist suspected aging. But when her daughter asked her to simply remove low-fat dairy for 14 days, Linda agreed only because she assumed it would change nothing. And yet on day 9, she noticed her morning stiffness had softened. On day 12, her digestion felt calmer. On day 14, she climbed a flight of stairs without gripping the railing. She didn't need medication. She didn't need new supplements. She simply needed to stop consuming the food she trusted most. Peter, a 71-year-old from Ohio, had lived with chronic sinus pressure and neck stiffness. He took allergy pills for years, believing pollen was the problem. But when he removed skim milk from his morning coffee and switched to unsweetened almond milk, his sinus issues began to fade within a week. His neck loosened. His energy improved. He later said, "I didn't expect to feel better. I didn't expect anything. But I got more relief in 2 weeks than I got from 10 years of allergy medication." Here's the twist many seniors find shocking. Whole-fat dairy rarely creates the same inflammation. Natural, full-fat milk, full-fat yogurt, old cheeses, kefir, and butter digest more slowly, stabilize blood sugar, support gut health, and contain vitamins A, D, E, and K2, the very nutrients the body needs to absorb calcium effectively. Low-fat dairy removes the fat but leaves behind the sugar, leaving seniors with a product that inflames the joints while delivering almost no nutritional benefit. Countries with the highest low-fat dairy intake also have the highest rates of hip fractures because calcium without fat-soluble vitamins cannot reach the bones. Seniors think they are strengthening their skeleton. In reality, they are consuming a food that worsens inflammation and weakens bone metabolism. The gut is another major victim of low-fat dairy. After 50, the gut microbiome becomes more delicate and easier to disrupt. Low-fat dairy feeds harmful bacteria and starves beneficial ones, creating an imbalance that affects everything: digestion, immunity, joint comfort, mental clarity, and even sleep. Seniors often experience this imbalance as swelling, heaviness, unpredictably painful joints, and digestive discomfort that feels random. But it isn't random at all. It's the body reacting to a food it was never meant to digest in this altered form. What makes this revelation powerful is how quickly the body responds when low-fat dairy is removed. Many seniors feel their joints lighten within a week. Others notice better digestion, less bloating, clearer thinking, improved breathing, fewer headaches, and steady energy throughout the day. Belly fat becomes easier to lose because insulin stops spiking. Sleep improves. Stiffness fades. It feels, as many describe, like the body finally stops fighting against itself. And so, after learning all 5 inflammatory foods, vegetable oils, refined sugar, refined flour, processed meats, and low-fat dairy, something extraordinary becomes clear. Aging is not the enemy. Inflammation is. When seniors remove even one of these foods, the body begins to heal. Remove 2 and mobility improves. Remove 3 and energy rises. Remove 4 and joints feel loose and alive again. Remove all 5 and many people say they feel 10 or even 20 years younger. Your body is not broken. It is inflamed. And inflammation is not permanent. It is reversible. What you remove matters just as much as what you eat. If you are watching this video and you are over 50, here's your simple experiment. Remove low-fat dairy for the next 14 days. Replace it with whole-fat alternatives or dairy-free options. Pay attention to your joints, your digestion, your sleep, your clarity, your belly fat, your morning stiffness. Your body will speak clearly. Inflammation will quiet down. Healing will begin. And you will finally understand just how powerful nutrition is at any age. And if this message helped you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, because millions of seniors are suffering quietly from inflammation they don't recognize, and this information could change someone's life.